What's happening, YouTube? It's Simon 466 Cards, and today I'm going to talk about college uniform cards and whether we've drawn the wrong conclusion as to why they're not that valuable in the current day hobby. So, to explain this theory that I have, or it's not even a theory because I'm not sure how much I believe, this is more of an open question, but I'm going to use Anthony Edwards as an example of this. This is Anthony Edwards's Prism Draft Picks Silver Prism card in a PSA 10. This, you can see, it's from his days at Georgia, it appears is where he went to school, Georgia, and this Silver Prism PSA 10 sells for a whopping $30, $20, $50. You know, as you can see here, some sales, 28, 21, 30, 50, right? Not a lot. Compare that to his Pro uniform card, that is also his rookie card in 2020 Prism. The Silver Prism here in a PSA 10 is worth $930, which is obviously many multiples of just, 20 to 50 bucks, right? So, and this is even a pop almost 2,000 and it's still worth $930. This Silver Prism Draft Picks card is worth 30 bucks and definitely has a pop less than this number here. And so the comparison for these draft picks cards or these college uniform cards is to baseball, where if we pick someone like Aaron Judge in baseball, obviously Aaron Judge, Anthony Edwards, both big stars in their sports, and you look at his 2013 Bowman draft picks card, you'll see the numbers here on your right, they're all really big numbers. His autograph cards are worth thousands of dollars. His non-draft picks card, without an auto, his non-auto draft picks card is still worth 630 bucks in a PSA 10 with a pop of 1450, somewhat close to what this is worth, not quite exactly, but it's in the ballpark, right? With the pop and the dollar amount in the generally the same range. And then obviously the ones with an auto on it are worth thousands of dollars, you can see here. And the reason why this example is relevant is because this is from 2013 Bowman Draft. Aaron Judge did not debut in the majors till 2016. And so when you look at these cards and why there was something, you'll note that the one big difference is that this has the New York Yankees logo. He's in a New York Yankees uniform, and the logical conclusion is that's why these Bowman draft pick cards are worth something, because they're in the pro uniform for the player, whereas for someone like Anthony Edwards, when you look at this, he's in his Georgia uniform, and that is not a pro uniform, whereas here he's playing for the T-Wolves and is in his pro uniform. And so the conclusion that everybody, including myself, has had is that the difference is because it's college uniform versus pro uniform. Nobody cares about the college cards because they're college uniforms. Whereas in the case of Aaron Judge, he's in his pro uniform, New York Yankees. That's the team he's going to eventually play for. And that's why his Bowman draft picks card is worth a whole lot. And that's been the thinking in the hobby, and I also subscribe to it because it makes a lot of sense. But what if I were to tell you there might be another reason why these college uniform cards are not worth anything, whereas these minor league cards for baseball are, and it's not related to pro uniforms versus college uniforms. It's not related to the jersey or the hat that you're wearing or the helmet that you're wearing and the logos that are on them. What if it's something else? And what if that something else is time? Time of when those cards are produced. So let's look back at this. This Panini Prism Draft Picks card for Anthony Edwards is from 2020. His pro debut, his rookie year in the NBA, is also 2020. So when you print and manufacture this card as Prism Draft Picks in 2020, which is the same year that he gets drafted and plays in the NBA, then of course you're going to go to the pro uniform card because that's what's relevant. He's already graduated from Georgia, or he's not graduated, he's a one and done player, but he's already left Georgia by the time the Georgia card comes out. And so there is no time for people to prospect this card because by the time this card comes out, he's already been drafted into the NBA. And a huge part of this hobby is about prospecting and following along a player as they mature and as they develop into a star, into a prospect, whatever it may be. You can actually do that with Prism Draft Pick cards even when the player's in college because they get printed after he's been drafted and is in the pros. Whereas for these Bowman draft cards, there is time for you to buy these and follow along on Aaron Judge or whatever prospect you want to name in their journey from the minor leagues to the pros. Because again, this is 2013 when this product comes out. He doesn't debut in the majors till 2016, so it's 2-3 years between the time that the card is printed and the time that he enters the majors, or the majors. Whereas historically for the NFL and the NBA, this is not the case. And why is this not the case? It's because of the lack of NIL rights. You as Anthony Edwards could not sign a contract to make money off of your name, image, and likeness until you turned pro, until you left college. Well, that's changed, right? NIL deals now are signed by college athletes. So if that had been the case for someone like Anthony Edwards, his quote-unquote rookie, as you can see here with this symbol on the right here, would have come out in 2019 Panini Prism Draft Picks, not 2020, which would have given an extra year or a year early to buy this card because it would have been printed a year earlier, and that way you could have followed him along in that extra year of college. And more importantly, this affects football a lot because football states that they have to be in college for 3 years before being eligible for the NFL draft, or they have to have graduated and 3 years have passed since their graduation from high school to be eligible for the NFL. And historically, you being the card manufacturers could not have printed any cards for NFL players until they were drafted because you couldn't sign NIL deals. Well, now that's changed. You have guys like Arch Manning signing NIL deals with Panini. You can see here this article of 2023. He signed this when he was 18 years old, right? Because he is now 19 and the year is 2024. He signed this deal July 2023. He signed this deal when he was 18, but he can't enter the NFL until he is 21. So he's still got 2 years to go. And so he's going to have Panini college cards with him in a Texas uniform printed by Panini 2 years before he gets drafted into the NFL. And he's not the only one. His college teammate at Texas, Quinn Ewers, also has a deal with Panini for trading cards. And it's, again, the same NIL thing, right? And he is how old is he? He is 21 right now. He signed this deal. This is, again, an article from 2023. So he signed this deal when he was 20. He's not going to get drafted until next year at the earliest. He might even stay 4 years, right? I don't know. But the change in NIL and when college athletes or even high school athletes are allowed to sign NIL deals changes the time aspect of why college uniform cards have not been very valuable in the past. Because now there is time for you, the collector, the hobbyist, to buy a college uniform card and then follow along that college player's journey as a prospect before he gets drafted. That had not been possible in the past. And that's why in addition, maybe to the college uniform thing, those cards have not been very valuable. Now you're able to prospect them much, much earlier. And if you think about this line here in the NFL draft eligibility, 3 years removed from high school graduation. Well, Aaron Judge, 2013 draft picks. That's the year of his Bowman draft picks card. Entered the majors in August of 2016. So that's roughly 3 years of development time in the minors. That is going to be the minimum for NFL players from when their first college or draft picks cards are printed and when they enter the NFL draft. Instead of just being your college cards get printed the same year you're drafted. So there's really no point in collecting a card of something that's already happened. There's no future potential there because Anthony Edwards isn't going to do anything for Georgia after he's already been drafted, and that's when you print the Georgia cards. And so my thinking here is that it is entirely possible that the NIL agreements that college players can sign much earlier in their college careers, at the beginning of, or even as they're high school students, that will increase the window for people in the hobby to collect these cards. They will then give a way for people in the hobby to prospect these players, to follow these players, to follow along their careers as they develop. And that's the piece, that piece of time, more than a logo on a uniform, is what will drive value to college cards and college uniform cards more than's happened in the past. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true. This is just a theory I have. I think there is an element of truth to this. Now, is it 90% college uniform and 10% people want to follow along as prospect? Or is it more 50-50? That's the actual question that I'm not sure of. And I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this theory about college uniform cards being historically not valuable because of the lack of prospecting time allowed versus the professional versus college logo that's on the uniform and jersey. I think the NIL abilities for or capabilities of signing with a Panini to print cards much earlier will drive value to college cards much more than has been possible in the past because of what I've just talked about. But how much? I don't know. Will it add 5 or 10% to the value of these cards in the long run? Or will it be more now in line with what the pro cards are worth? I think that's the range of outcomes here. One is it makes like a 5-10% increase in value in the long term. And the second one is these are now comparable. We now have created an equivalent to these draft pick cards. And honestly, if I were someone working at Panini, this would be the avenue that I take. Now the NIL window is open, and it seems like that's what they're doing. Like, let's chase the Arch Mannings. Let's chase the Quinn Ewers. Let's chase all these big college prospects and turn our cards as college uniform cards as to their true prospect cards, make them similar to the Bowman draft equivalent, even though we don't have the Bowman name. So that's my theory. I will probably be buying a few college uniform cards of highly touted NFL prospects in the next 6 to 9 months as they get printed, because I do believe there's some potential here. And I do have one particular prospect in mind, which I will keep to myself. But that is something that I'll be trying to chase down in the coming months. And I actually have an eBay search saved for this particular football player. And I would say, if you do believe this theory, and again, this is just my own theory. It is not investment advice. This is just something for you to think about and making sure that you're not drawing conclusions based off of something that everybody just takes as granted. Like, challenge yourself and the logic that's being used. And that's what I'm doing here. because that might be an opportunity and an arbitrage opportunity that people think it is still the old way of doing things, but in fact there's a new way of thinking for the hobby that might take time to develop. That's kind of where I'm going with this, and so I will be buying a couple of NFL prospects, maybe just one. I would, if you're going to do this though, I wouldn't really touch any NBA prospects because the NBA only requires 1 year of college eligibility or 1 year past high school graduation, as opposed to NFL, which is 3 years. And so there's less time to prospect and there's less time to follow along that prospect's career in college because it's only going to be 1 year. Whereas for football, it'll be 3 years. So that's my theory. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments about whether or not you think there is some truth to this, a lot of truth to this theory, or maybe you think I have no idea what I'm talking about because this is the way it's always been and that's the way it's always going to be. And if you know me, you know one of the things that I hate the most is the reasoning and the rationale for something being the way it is as simply that's the way it's always been, so that's the way it's always going to be, and that's the way it's going to be done, and that's the way we're going to do it. If you are lucky enough to work with me in my professional life, you know that would immediately result in me challenging that statement and the assumption behind it. Anyways, that's it. That's the video. Would again love to hear your thoughts and comments on this one because I think this is something that I don't think anybody's really talked about in the hobby in any content that I've seen. So I'm throwing a new theory out there and I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on it. Thank you as always for listening and watching. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.